Call this meeting to order. Thank you very much. And at this point, we can have the invocation by Pastor Tim Dryden from the New Covenant Presbyterian Church. Welcome.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we acknowledge you as being the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, that you exercise governance globally, that you are the supreme authority. And Lord, we would ask for your favor and your blessings to be here with Mayor Dyer and with each member of the City Council and for all of those who are present here, Lord, that we would work together for a better Virginia Beach. We thank you for these United States of America. We thank you for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we thank you for this great city of Virginia Beach, Lord. And we would ask for your continued protection and preservation. And I just pray for wisdom for these men and women and all the leaders and officials in this town. I pray also for our law enforcement, that you would protect them as they seek to keep law and order in this place. And we'll be careful to give you the praise and honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. God bless you. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
All present except Mr. Bellucci, who's out sick.
Okay, could I have a motion for certification of the closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the vote is open.
By a vote of 10-0, you've certified the closed session to be in accordance with the motion to recess.
Okay, yes, Mr.
I
Moss.
just want to make it public because it's in the record, but I did excuse myself from the executive session on a matter for which I had a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moss. Okay, could I have a motion on the minutes, the corrected informal and formal sessions of January 21st, 2020?
So moved.
Second. Votes open.
By a vote of 9-0 and Ms. Wilson abstaining, you have approved those corrected minutes.
Okay, Ms. Wilson?
I was not here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Do I have a motion for the approval of minutes for the informal and formal sessions of February 4th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, vote is open.
By a vote of 10-0, you've approved those minutes as submitted.
All right, and I have approval for the minutes of the special session of February 11th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Okay, vote is open.
By a vote of 9-0 with Mr. Wood abstaining, you have approved those minutes as submitted.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'm going to, Councilman Ross will be making a very special presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Dyer, for this honor of presenting another NFL player. This distinct honor of representing our city so well. It's really an honor for me to be presenting this resolution to a Super Bowl champ from his hometown, Virginia Beach. The resolution reads as, whereas Derrick Nnadi, the youngest of 7 children born in Virginia to a pair of Nigerian immigrants, attended Ocean Lakes High School, where he excelled in football. Derrick was named first team All-Beach District and All-Eastern Region in 2012. First team All-Tidewater in both 2012 and 2013, and the 2013 Beach District Co-Chair or Co-Defensive Player of the Year. Derrick played in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl and the Chesapeake Bowl, Virginia High School All-Star Game in 2014 before graduating as a 4-star recruit and considered one of the top interior linemen in the country. Whereas Derrick Nnadi received offers to play football from 17 Division I FBS programs, including Virginia Tech, my alma mater, Ohio State, and Virginia, but ultimately choosing Florida State. And whereas Derrick Nnadi played in 7 games as a freshman, 12 games as a sophomore and junior, and 13 as a senior, Derrick was named 3rd team All-ACC in 2015, first-team All-ACC by his coaches, and third-team All-ACC by coaches in 2016. He was ACC Defensive Lineman of the Week for Week 9 for his performance against Clemson in 2016, and was on the preseason watch list member for the Bernard Outland and Ogorsky Awards in 2017. Derrick earned Defensive Most Improved Player after Florida State University 2016 spring season. Whereas Derrick Nnadi was a third-round, 75 overall draft pick of the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2018 National Football League NFL Draft. Derrick is just 2 years playing in the NFL, has 27 total starts, playing in 32 games with 83 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass defended, and 1 interception. Derrick started as the right defensive tackle for the Chiefs during Super Bowl, where Kansas City Chiefs defeated the San Francisco 49ers 31-20. Whereas Derrick Nnadi, following what his father taught him, as Nnadis, we don't receive, we give. Derrick was named Week 0 National Football League Players Association Community MVP for providing a shopping spree for victims' families following the Virginia Beach mass shooting and hosting 2 back-to-school events for kids in Kansas City and southeastern Virginia. These are the latest in a string of community initiatives Derrick has been involved in, including in hosting a Thanksgiving turkey drive, which I was proud to be a part of. Thank you, Derrick. Participating in the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation Weekend, and recently taking part in the Chiefs' annual visit to Ronald McDonald's house to kick off Red Friday week. Derrick partnered with the Kansas City Pet Project to personally pay for a dog adoption fees every time the Chiefs won, which was a lot. Derrick then decided if the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, he would pay for every dog's adoption fee, which ended with 109 dogs finding forever homes at the cost of $150 per dog. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Virginia Beach City Council, whose signatures are affixed below, with great pride, we recognize on of our own a true professional athlete and humanitarian who has brought honor and distinction to our city of Virginia Beach. Signed by your city council. Thank you. Would you like to say a couple words?
Man, this, but first and foremost, y'all, thank y'all for having me here. It really means the world to me, having, my own city really embrace me at times, just making me who I am. Growing up, like I said, my parents kind of gave me the fruits of labor with one dose of knowledge. You really get what you put into it. Ain't like my father always said, like I said, I can hear it all the time in my head, no matter what I'm doing. You gotta be the best of the best of the best of the best at anything you do in every aspect of your life. And I strive to do that for everything, for me being a good person, football player, even, of course, a dog owner. Man, it really means the world to me, just to make it this far in my journey. Oh, not at all. This page 1, that's for sure. In regards to all this, my community work, that's probably the things I'm really most proud of, because I've always just wanted to give back to my community. This is my home. If there's one saying someone told me, well, no matter what you do, you make sure your home is secure, and that's been my goal throughout my life, from my rookie year to college to all the way to this point. And like I said, like I just said, I'm not done yet. It's just really page 1 in my plan of trying to help out this city. And honestly, this is off to a great start. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You are truly a point of pride to the city of Virginia Beach.
Thank you.
Okay, well-deserved, well-articulated, Aaron. Thank you very much. Okay, at this point, open a public hearing on the lease of city property, a property 5.45 acres at Orsted Wind Power North America LLC, located at Lynnhaven Inlet. Any speakers?
Yes, sir. The first speaker is Barbara Messner.
Welcome, Barbara.
And I just want to say congratulations. That was one of the best games. It was an awesome game. I watched the whole thing. Okay, this one's the wind energy. Which item is this?
Yes, that is the public hearing on the Wind Power North America LLC, Barbara.
Right, yeah. I oppose this because it's another foreign company. I believe this is the Spanish one. And 20 acres of city property. You're constantly removing income by selling your property, leasing and selling your property to private companies, and I oppose that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Next speaker is Andrew Broyles. And then the next speaker is Tom Solnick.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mayor Dyer, Vice
How you-
Mayor Wood, distinguished Bayside and Ocean Park Councilman Jones, and City Council. I'm here tonight to oppose this application, but not necessarily fully oppose it. My name is Andrew Broyles. I live at 3604 East Stratford Road. I am a business owner of Virginia Beach for 42 years. I'm the past president of Ocean Park Civic League, and I've lived at that address for 19 years. So, do we have a picture of the site that we can put up? No? Okay. Well, the biggest problem we have over there is that the boat ramp is a success. And unfortunately, that success comes with a lot of traffic. And the boat ramp on the weekends in the summer is closed by around 10 o'clock in the morning, almost every weekend, unless it's raining or windy or just not good weather. So the proposal that was placed in front of you all is showing Orsted's development to be right adjacent to the southern edge of the curb and gutter of the boat and trailer parking. That area right now is being used for approximately 40 trucks and trailers to park. So living right on the street, I can tell you that at 10 o'clock, they're going to shut the boat ramp down because of inability. If you can't park, you can't launch. So the boats line up, and they'll line up for 3 or 4 blocks back there. You recently had Marina Shores close their boat and launch area. This is going to put more pressure on Lynnhaven Boat Ramp, plus you add the 40 spaces that are now not being used. I really see no way the boat ramp can be open after 8 o'clock in the morning. Most boaters get there around 5 to 6 to 7. Not many are retrieving boats at that mid-morning time, so it ends up just being a line of boats. So what I'm asking is that the facility that the developer is placing, the Dominion's developer, will move their facility south and allow for the much-needed expansion of this boat ramp that currently already needs expanding because it's closed, obviously. With the pressure that's going to be put on it, it's going to be just really not used. So you've got at least 60 parking places needed. There's a tremendous revenue for those parking places that is may be seasonal, but it's still there. The need's there, and as the pressure comes on to other areas to develop waterfront areas, possibly removing more boat launch areas, this is really needed. So, thank you for the time.
Hey, thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
Tim Solanic, I'm sorry, and then Todd Solomon.
Welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Mr. City Manager. I was the guy who hand-delivered the letter that we also emailed from Ocean Park Civic League, and I'm here just to speak about the deferral part because we're asking just communication with the neighborhood in reference to the safety Mr. Broyles mentioned, and we think there's an opportunity to just juggle some things over there. Make it safe, rah-rah, the Lynnhaven boat ramp, wildly popular, as you know, and that's why I'm here.
Thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
Todd Solomon, and then Sam Anderson Hall.
Todd, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, City Council members. First, I want to take a quick moment to thank Derrick as a Steeler fan, I appreciate you guys beating San Francisco and keeping them at 5 and not getting to 6, and I was cheering for you all the way. Thanks. And for representing the 757 and Virginia Beach, I appreciate that greatly. Tonight, I'm here just to let you know, I'm here and representing Shore Drive Community Coalition. We do have a meeting on Monday. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a public meeting or public conversation on this project other than the presentation, I believe, to City Council that was on TV that we posted, but there hasn't been any back and forth with the community whatsoever yet. So Monday, we will be discussing this. We have a list of about 6 to 8 questions already. I suspect some more questions will pop up, including the parking issue and the relocating of it to allow expansion that was just brought up by Andy and Tim. So we're going to present those to you guys, to City Council on Tuesday. Hopefully a week's time will be enough time for staff to get responses back to us before you vote. If not, we'll be here on March 3rd when you vote to express our concerns or if the questions weren't answered. So we'll be back on that day. But once again, it's unfortunate that this has been going on for 6 months, 8 months, I don't know how long, but there's been conversations, but unfortunately nothing out to the public yet. You've got the Bayfront Advisory Committee, you've got Shore Drive Community Coalition, and you have a great Civic League in Ocean Park, too, with 3 opportunities to get in conversation with the community, to talk about some of these issues. It's in the backyard of Ocean Park, yet there hasn't been one conversation with the community whatsoever. So I wanted to bring that up again. It's a trend that we unfortunately see a lot of, not only on Shore Drive, but in the city. So hopefully there'll be more time for conversation. If not, hopefully we'll get good input back from the city staff with our questions. And just to let you know that we are looking at it, and Monday we'll be discussing it and getting you information on Tuesday.
Thank you very much, Todd. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, okay, Rosemary.
Mr. Leahy, could you have someone attend their meeting Monday night?
I was just writing that down, ma'am.
You could. Unfortunately, we've got a big a big question. Also, I mean, like, I can't guarantee that you'll get on to discuss. I mean, maybe it's question and answer, but we are discussing Westminster, Canterbury, and the 22-story. So, I mean, a good hour and a half of that, I suspect, is going to be discussing that issue. So, I mean, I'd love to have somebody come there, but I can't put you on to do a presentation like you did to council because we've already slated that, which is unfortunate. If you would have talked to us 2 months ago, we could have got you on because we didn't have any speakers. But we would love to have somebody set up, but I cannot guarantee that you'll be able to do a presentation. But if you want to answer some questions and answer, that'd be great too. But you may be there for about an hour, hour and a half sitting while we get the other thing out of the way, which will be for you also in March in the Planning Commission, not before you, but we'll be coming to them for that other issue.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, we would love to. Thanks.
Mr. Jones, yeah.
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
I've already talked to the city manager about the issue, and he's going to take a look at it and see what.
Great, yeah, the parking was one. We had issues, I think, Ms. Abbott, you might have brought up at the meeting about the 5,000-gallon tank and the issues with there, the environmental impact, if the city is reviewing that, who's responsible for maintaining that to be safe. We had issues about giving this property for free and not even charging it for a lease, that it seems kind of silly to do that for a non-government agency, that maybe you could get some lease money from that and move it over and get parking space. So, I mean, it's a potential moneymaker. We had issues with the construction, the company, what are they bringing? Is it just pickup trucks with a bunch of guys getting on a boat to go out to there, or are they bringing how many of them? I mean, there's a list of stuff that we've already just been emailing back and forth, not just the parking, that we'd like to bring in attention to, so.
He's going to take a look at it and see what.
Great, and I'll send Tom, I'll send you the list that we have on, especially if you show up on Monday, you can hear it, but otherwise I'll send it to you on Tuesday.
Any other questions for Mr. Solomon? Okay, thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Sam Anderson Hall.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm actually not Sam. My colleague is Sam. He signed up, but I'm Hayes Fromme. I'm with Orsted, based in Richmond, Virginia. Just to make a couple of clarifying points about some of the comments that have been made. First of all, we're very excited to work with the city on this project. Obviously, the city is the gateway to the construction of the first 2 turbines in federal waters in the entire country. So it's an exciting milestone for Virginia. It's an exciting milestone for the city as well. First, while the lease is technically for 5.45 acres, we'll only be using about 1 acre of that land. all of the activities that we have will be confined to within that fence line. That includes any vehicles that come, they will be parking within that fence line. We won't be utilizing the boat ramp at all. Our vessel will come in and moor right at our site, but it won't be utilizing the boat ramp on a consistent basis. Again, just to emphasize, the purpose of our activity there is to work on the construction and installation of the 2 turbines, the demonstration turbines. So this is not in reference to any larger project that may be coming at some point down the road. And then last, I'll just say, certainly in all of our activities and all of our projects, both globally and in the U.S., we've had good dialogue with the community, and we continue to push for that. So any continued conversations that we can have with folks who utilize the site, we'd be certainly happy to continue that conversation. So thank you again for the opportunity. Certainly happy to answer any questions, but we look forward to continuing our relationship with the city.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
That's all the speakers for that public hearing.
Okay, thank you all for your participation. Public hearing number 2, declaration and sale of excess property, approximately 20 acres located Princess Anne Commons to the Evergrande Renewables LLC between Lansdowne and Dam Neck Roads.
We only have one speaker, Barbara Messner.
Good evening. Ms. Henley, Mr. Moss, and Mr. Dyer are all aware that since this is Lansdowne and Dam Neck, which severely impacts the General Booth corridor at Prosperity Road, at Eaglewood Road, and Oceana Boulevard. We have major problems. 20 acres is not excess. This applies to all property. Almost every meeting for the last couple years, you keep either leasing land for $1 a year to special interest, or you're selling it for projects. This is, I'm not even familiar with this. How do you pronounce it? Avangrid Renewables LLC between Lansdowne and Dam Neck. I took a walk today. I need to get some sunshine and vitamin D because it takes forever to go through these agendas. But where you've allowed all that new storage facilities on Oceana Boulevard and behind, what is it, where the brewery is. Sorry, I'm nervous. I didn't expect all these people. Anyway, there's major flooding all over the city. When I drive around, I see crumbling roads, potholes. The city's in horrible shape, but there's new flooding that backs up to the Red Wing area. And it's where you've allowed the breweries and all these new places to go in Oceana Crossing Shopping Center. And we've been landlocked, I think, since 2008. There's only one way in and one way out, and it's a public safety issue. We just had a fire, and a woman died. The neighbors rescued her, but she still died on Eaglewood. We need for our first responders to get in and out quickly to save lives. And, all these new projects make it almost impossible for our public safety people to keep up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all the speakers.
Okay. All right, at this point, I want to remind everyone that City Council speaker policy that allows certain representatives of groups to speak for 10 minutes applies only to planning items. As to all other items on the agenda, each speaker, whether speaking individually or on behalf of a group, will have 3 minutes to speak. When speakers are called on each item, the clerk will call for those individuals who have signed up to speak. After those who have signed up to speak have spoken, the chair will ask if there are any other persons who wish to speak on the item at hand. Those speakers will be allowed to speak and will be asked to give their names, address, and telephone number to the clerk to record. Also, we have several items under ordinances and resolutions with only one speaker signed up. As such, the city clerk will call the speaker and identify each item that have been registered on. The speaker will receive 3 minutes to comment on each item. Okay, do we have a speaker?
Yes. Ms. Messner? So Ms. Messner has signed up to speak on ordinance resolutions number 1, 5, 6, 7A, B, and C, and then planning item 1, 2, 7, and 9.
Can you do those one at a time? Because some of them are pulled, right? I'm not supposed to.
Only,
Okay,
Yeah, a number of these are on the consent agenda, so,
right.
Okay.
Okay, so starting with J1.
J1.
Okay, direct the city manager, acting city manager, we have so many acting positions, to implement all recommendations from the disparity study requested by council members Rouse and Wooten. Yeah, I remember when you had the March for Democracy. And it was mainly for Bruce Smith, who's been trying, with his partner Armada Hoffler, to get one of these public-private partnerships. I'm for free enterprise, and I'm for, people have to pay $400 or $500 for permits and waivers. So, anyway, there are a lot of people that do not get a chance to bid. Mr. Moss brought this up before when Debbie and Prevento bid on the first pier deal. And it was a winning bid, $12,000. But y'all decided, oh, heaven forbid, somebody actually read the bid in the paper and you embarrassed her, and then y'all reopened the bid again. So it's the system that is wrong for everyone. And since this is Black History Month, one of my mentors and someone who fought for civil rights and human rights for everyone, George Mins, I just want to make sure he's recognized and not forgotten, because he would be here speaking on all these things, and he also spoke on flooding, which has gotten worse in the SeaTac area. Okay, and what is the next one?
J5.
J5. Declare approximately 20 acres city property in Princess Anne Commons between Lansdowne and Dam Neck Roads in excess, and authorize the city manager, acting city manager Leahy, to enter into an option to purchase and real estate sale agreement with the Spanish wind energy company. This is the second Virginia Beach Economic Development Authority subsidy to Spanish companies. In the city, Sessoms and Warren Harris, who's no longer with Economic Development Authority, we pay for their travel to these foreign countries, and then you fast-track visas and you give them subsidies for, quote, jobs. So, like I said, keep our land on the tax rolls and stop giving it away and leasing it at $1 an hour so we can actually pay down the $2 billion debt.
the
Okay.
next one?
Number 6.
Number 6, ordinance to establish CIP 6113, various HRSD, Hampton Road Sanitation Department, and appropriate $797,000, nearly $1 million, from Hampton Road Sanitation District to the 2019-2020 Capital Improvement Project, CIP, that's city-funded design. So we have budgets every year. Why are we switching around 800, almost $1 million? Okay, number 7.
7A, B, and C.
Right, 7A. This is nearly $500,000, $28,775 from general fund reserve for contingencies to the 2019-2020 voter registration and elections office. Reference the Democratic presidential primary on March 3rd. And when I spoke at one of these other meetings, they changed one of the precincts with hardly any notice. And normally, George Minns and Andrew Jackson would be, complaining about the last-minute changes during an election year. Why is it so expensive to vote? We pay these people a lot of money. We have voter registrars and we have staff. But with all these special elections, since Sessom stepped down abruptly, I believe in April 30th of 2018, we have all these special elections. And then, Mr. Dyer, you switched from Centerville to run for mayor, and Davenport, who's gone, on and on and on. It's just, okay, and then B, I hate taking up time when these people are here, but $118,000 and $128,000, 2019-2020 Public Works General Fund operating budget, purchase tablets and implementation costs for a mobile work order system. It's like, again, you're changing after you have established a budget and spent, all this time on all the budgets, and then you make changes. C, this is nearly $4 million. $2,073,503 and $2,170,923. 2019-2020 water sewer CIP capital improvement project, and appropriate for 3 water and sewer capital projects. It's been since 2016 since we had the flooding. And you've done all kinds of work at the oceanfront, 16th Street. It's flooding all over the place. And you're transferring more money, and I'm sure it will be at the oceanfront. Okay, any more right now?
Mayor, she's also signed up on several planning items. that she's
Okay,
only-
I'm gonna,
No,
at
but
this point,
I didn't do 8.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, 8.
No, I
I
just,
apologize.
like I said,
8.
ordinance to modify appropriations and transfer $824,201, almost $1 million again, in the budget, housing and neighborhood preservation. You just renewed, Andrew Friedman for another 4 years. We're not taking care of our neighborhoods, and you're just adding to the problem with all these short-term rentals. So I just oppose all of the shifting around of our rare tax dollars. Thank you.
okay, at this point, I am opening a public hearing on planning items.
Ms. Messner,
Ms. Messner?
you're the only speaker on several planning items as well. The first one is number 1, Bishard family. This is to be deferred to March the 17th.
Moss, you started the Taxpayers Alliance, Virginia Beach Taxpayers Alliance. They're MIA on all this stuff. I'm a regular citizen. I just happen to pay attention. I remember when, okay. Bishard is funded by Town Bank, which is a conflict. His projects, there's no setbacks. It's, 24th Street, I think 32nd Street by the post office. Yeah, this is to subdivide the existing parcel into 3 lots. It's, it's like the gold rush at the beach for housing, and you're destroying the neighborhoods. It says staff denial, planning commission appointed approval. Okay, 2, Franklin Johnson.
Okay, please hold on one second. This item was previously designated for inclusion on the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove the item from the consent agenda?
Yes.
This motion is for deferral.
Which
I mean,
one?
I think
That's
we're asking
correct.
for deferral.
Well,
Yeah.
the motion has.
Oh, you're down this, I was thinking about the other one. No, never mind.
He's just
Okay.
asking if we want to remove it
Yeah,
based on her comments.
okay. The item will remain on the consent agenda. Next item, please.
Second item is the Franklin Johnston Group, and this also is requested for deferral till March the 17th.
Okay. Franklin Johnson Group, they have major conflict of interest with council members. They had their banners flying at the Neptune Festival, I think it was 2014, along with all the other special interests from the Bruce Thompson's 31st Hotel, which he's since sold. Conditional change of zoning, industrial to conditional, 36 apartments to develop up to 160 multifamily units in the Rose Hall District. Our Rose Hall representative isn't here today, correct? Anyway, I know there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that are, in opposition to this, and since it's deferred, they're not here. Okay. And,
Okay, Ms. Messner, this item was previously designated for inclusion on the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove the item from the agenda, and the direct applicant requests a deferral to March 17th? Okay, this item will remain on the consent agenda.
The next item is number 7, the 7-Eleven Inc. In Princess Anne District.
okay, I wasn't finished, but I'll add it with this thing. 7-Elevens, conditional use permit. I think this is the one where Mr. Moss, because of his stock with Exxon, BP, and Chevron, I believe, abstained. Another service station. We're subsidizing 7-Elevens. We're allowing them to go in all over the place, and they have horrible, horrible public safety. You look at the news, they get robbed all the time. Anyway, one thing I want to bring up that I didn't bring up before, since this is one of the rare times I get to speak, is the conflicts of interest. Y'all ask Mr. Stiles, for opinions. He cannot give legal rulings. And myself and other people have asked for legal rulings from our Commonwealth attorney, which I think the last person that asked for a legal ruling was Will Sessoms, and then he stepped down April 30th, 2018. But this is one of the replies I received from Tabitha Anderson, Deputy Commonwealth Attorney, on March 23rd, 2018, about my conflict letter, February 16th, which addressed, I believe it was at least 8 council members. Wilson, Wood, anyway, I won't go over the names. But I think it's important for the residents to know that it's very difficult for us to find out who has a conflict, because the Conflicts of Interest Act provides that the attorney for the Commonwealth can issue an opinion related to conduct addressed within the act only on written requests from a local officer or employee. That means the taxpaying residents who are paying these salaries cannot get a legal ruling, even though I did get one, which I appreciate, from Stolly, who's had to recuse himself on the Sessoms investigation. The Act grants no additional provision to the Commonwealth to issue opinions under these circumstances. To that end, it is incumbent on the individual officer to evaluate whether his or her contact would erode the public's highest level of trust in its officers and employees. Thank you.
Okay, This item was previously designated for inclusion on the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove this item from the consent agenda? That is number 711 Incorporated.
I do not, but I have a question either for planning or the city attorney. I looked through this 7-Eleven application, and I do not recall seeing Exxon or any other party as an applicant to this rezoning. Did I miss something?
No, sir, that is correct.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, Ms. Messer, you also signed up for K9.
Okay, Mr. Jones had a comment first.
As far as the 7-Eleven item is concerned, pursuant to the Virginia Conflict of Interest Act, Code of Virginia, I make the following declaration. I'm executing this written disclosure regarding the City Council's discussion and vote on the application of 7-Eleven Inc. for a conditional use permit for an automobile service station, property located at 2205 Prince Sand Road. I have an ownership interest in Holloman Brown Funeral Home, Inc., and Holloman Brown Funeral Home owns a parcel at the corner of Prince Sand Road and General Booth Boulevard, which is across from the 7-Eleven parcel, and therefore I've chosen to abstain from voting.
And please duly note, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, yes, John.
Since we can do it now versus after the vote, on the ordinance section of our agenda on J5, I have a long-standing on-file, often mentioned here, interest in Dominion Resources whose income from stockholding exceeds the statutory limitation of $5,000, and therefore I will be abstaining from that item.
Okay. Okay,
Ms. Messer, you had signed up to speak on item 9, A, B, and C as well.
yeah.
And this is being considered for withdrawal.
It's being considered, yeah, Ms. Messner, you realize it's being considered for withdrawal.
Right, I do. But the reason I'm speaking on this is because I spoke on February 4th. I believe I was the only speaker in opposition to all these short-term rentals. I think there was 26 of them, 24, 26 at the time. And yeah, we're destroying the quality of the neighborhoods with all these short-term rentals. And like I said, the other gentleman, Mr. Lehman, who spoke, he was sponsored by Mr. Tower. Mr. Tower, you're my rep. You've never responded to one single email, not one. And you hear me speak, and yet you waited till I sat down to ask me a question because y'all passed out an altered, you changed what was printed on the agenda about the short-term rentals. And Kay Wilson, the land city attorney, handed it to me, knowing that usually I'm one of the few people who come here to speak. I'm glad that Shore Drive's here today. But, yeah, I think that vote should not count because it is not due process. You didn't make changes after the meeting started. You made them before the meeting started, and you handed them out to speakers. And then you didn't even let me finish my speech, but you let Mr. Lehman have unlimited time. And Ms. Henley, you did the same thing. So I'm really upset about the lack of due process in our city. And I have a problem with the 5 Ps: propaganda, pandering, public-private partnerships, and the conflicts of interest with elected officials and private industry donations. I want to address the system of council appointing planning staff, RAC, resort advisory commissioners, and even themselves as liaisons and commissioners. It took me years to be able to speak on the appointments. You still wait until the end of the meeting to rattle them off, and I was able to speak a couple times, and now I'm not able to speak. And Ms. Abbott promised to have open mic televised. We've had, I think it was 22 speakers for Moms Demanding Action that had to speak on open mic, which wasn't televised. And the gun rights, BCDL, they had to come.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it, Barbara.
all right.
Okay, this item, item 9, HHVB2 LLC, was previously designated for inclusion on the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove the item from the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. At this point, Mr. Wood, can we
Thank
do
you,
the
Mr. Mayor.
consent?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval under the consent agenda, the following items under ordinances and resolutions. Item J1, resolution to direct the city manager to implement all recommendations from the disparity study. Item J2, resolution to authorize and direct the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement with Virginia Department of Agricultural and Consumer Services regarding purchase of agricultural reserve program ARP easements. Item 3, and that's consent for withdrawal, resolution to oppose House Bill 152 and any similar bill that negates or limits single-family zoning districts. Item 4, ordinance to authorize the acquisition of property in fee simple regarding Elbow Road Extended Phase 2B and the acquisition of temporary and permanent easements, either by agreement or condemnation. Item 5, ordinance to declare approximately 20 acres of city property in Princess Anne Commons between Lansdowne and Dam Neck Roads in excess and authorize the city manager to enter into an option to purchase and real estate sale agreement with Avangrid Renewables LLC regarding development of a wind energy substation, noting that Mr. Moss is abstaining on this item. Item 6, ordinance to establish CIP 6-113, various HRSD coordination and appropriate $797,000 from the Hampton Road Sanitation District to the FY 2019-2020 Capital Improvement Program regarding design and construction utilizing HRSD contributions. Under item 7, ordinances to transfer $441,775 from general fund reserved for contingencies to the FY 2019-2020 voter registration and elections office operating budget regarding Democratic presidential primary election on March 3rd, 2020. Excuse me. Item 7B, $118,104 and $128,316 within the FY 2019-2020 Public Works General Fund operating budget regarding purchase of tablets and implementation costs for a mobile work order system. 7C, $2,073,503 within the FY 2019-2020 Water and Sewer CIP and appropriate $2,170,923 in retained earnings regarding 3 water and sewer capital projects. Item 8, ordinance to modify appropriations and transfer $824,201 within the FY 2019-2020 Housing and Neighborhood Preservation operating budget regarding adjustments in federal and state funding.
I open a public hearing on planning.
Under planning, item K1, Bouchard Family Real Estate LLC for a variance to section 4.1, paragraph J of the subdivision regulations regarding subdivide the existing parcel into 3 lots at 312 Gatewood Avenue in District 6, Beach District, and that's consent for deferral to March 17th. Item K2, Franklin Johnson Group Management and Development LLC, Security Storage and Van Company of Norfolk, Virginia Incorporated for a conditional change of zoning from I-1 Industrial to conditional A36 apartment regarding develop up to 160 multifamily units at 4545 South Boulevard in the Rose Hall District, and that's consent for deferral to March 17th, 2020. Item 3, Village Church for modification of conditions regarding religious use at 4013 Indian River Road in the Princess Anne District. Item 4, James P. Wooten for a modification of conditions regarding community boat dock at 1732 Lovett's Pond Lane, the Lynn Haven District. Item 5, Redhead Realty for a conditional use permit regarding non-commercial marina and Mill Landing Road east of Stone Road, intersection District 7, Princess Anne. Item 6, Ferguson Wedding Company LLC, Long Bay Point Partners LLC for conditional use permit regarding assembly use at 2105 West Great Neck Road in Lynn Haven District. Item 7, 7-Eleven Incorporated for conditional use permit regarding automobile service station at 2205 Princess Anne Road in the Princess Anne District, noting that Mr. Jones is abstaining on that item. Item 9, and this is consent for withdrawal, HHVB2 LLC for conditional use permit for short-term rentals at A, 433rd Street, B, 402 33rd Street, C, 3216 Arctic Avenue in the Beach District. So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The vote is open. We just got.
By a vote of 10-0, you've approved the consent agenda as read by Vice Mayor Wood, noting Mr. Moss's abstention and Mr. Jones's abstention as well.
Okay, on item number 8, under planning, Brady Flotten, RA conditional use permit, short-term rental at 1804D Baltic Avenue, District 6 Beach.
The first speaker is Brandy Flotten.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council men and women for your service and for your, just for your time dedicated to our city and community. So again, my name is Brandy Floten. I am a proud new homeowner at 1804 Baltic Avenue, Unit D. This is a unit where there are 5 units in the building. We purchased the townhome as a vacation home for my family, and we have offset the expenses by renting it approximately 30% of the time. It is furnished and decorated with high-end decor, and we market to families for week-long stays. Our rent also exemplifies that. We have strict rules regarding parties, drugs, extra people, etc., and I have a screening process in place for prospective clients. So I am invested in my community and in my neighborhood. I have a good relationship with all my neighbors, and I have consent letters from all my neighbors in the building in support of my short-term rental. My building is located in a mixed-use area. I have a brewery just steps out my back door, and I have a funeral home in the front of our building. And I believe that renting my unit will not deter or affect the residential area around my neighborhood. I have complied with all the city conditions. I've worked with the zoning and planning department. I did remove gravel in my driveway and replaced it with grass, and have adequate parking in my unit. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Question. So,
Mr. Wood.
I think you just addressed it, but condition 4, where it indicates up there, you said you did remove the gravel?
Yes, I did, and I provided pictures to Mr. Miller.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tower.
We have,
We still have condition 8 on this one that got the 50 people. Based on your comments, I assume you wouldn't object if we amended the conditional use permit as we did a week or 2 weeks ago to limit the number of people in the unit to the number that can legally stay in the unit?
I believe I'm asking for up to eight people in my place.
Yeah, and item 8 in the conditional use permit, I'll let Mr. Tahan.
Mr.
Go
Tower,
ahead.
if you look at the agenda request form, that condition was
It hasn't been modified?
Oh, they have all been
Okay,
modified.
all right. I knew we had for the ones that had already been deferred. I wasn't sure for this.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Well,
We still got speakers?
we do,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
we do have additional speakers.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
All right, I do have the consent letters from all my neighbors, if that's something you need to see.
Did you give them to
Thank
Would
you.
like to give those to me, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. The next speaker is Barbara Messner, and then the following speaker will be Joe Bellick.
Good evening. This is my 3rd time speaking on short-term rentals. Mr. Tower, when you were asking questions, I don't think you mentioned the new rule that you put in, or the new changes where there would be no events at these properties. You didn't ask the applicant that. And up to 8 people, how many vehicles? Yeah, the applicant, lived at the oceanfront for 20 years. I know the area pretty well. I know where the funeral home is in 17th Street. This is now, you've expanded the Vibe District, which is a special taxing district. You've painted everything, including 7-Elevens with, you could call it art. I think art is in the museum, but every building, every brick thing is painted. Mixed use, it's just, you know, everybody's jumping on this bandwagon to make money. And, you know, just because you've expanded the Vibe District into the neighborhoods doesn't mean that people don't still want to live there and have some peaceful enjoyment of their home. And not sure if I'm going to be able to speak on the appointments, so I just want to mention, I didn't have this before, but this is the 24th and the 25th, you have your retreats. Retreats, yes. And then the next day, I said it was the 28th, but Mr. Dyer and Kenny Alexander, who's already endorsed Mayor Bloomberg, y'all are having a luncheon, 12 to 1:15, and council usually goes along with all the SWAT officers and police. You know, one of the FOIA requests I did was to find out the cost for and how often, you know, they were with you, Mr. Dyer. I'd appreciate it so I don't have to pay $220 because, you know, the last FOIA was $324. If you could get that information for me so I don't have to spend that money. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Joe Ballett.
Welcome, Joe.
Derrick, you are a friend to the community. Everybody knows who you are. Yeah, I've seen your story. It's great.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Just fine, just fine. Thanks for having me as a speaker. I want to pat each and every one of you on the back, okay, for your discussion this afternoon on short-term rentals. Okay, I came here with a different agenda. I had 4 pages written, and you screwed me up, okay? Because you guys really did have a good discussion this afternoon, and I wanted to take the time to come and tell you that. Continue that discussion during your retreat, okay? Mr. Tower, you were brilliant in saying we need to have a cap at some point. Don't lose that energy. Don't lose that point, okay? Mr. Jones, a couple weeks ago, I was almost ready to come through my telephone when you said only the beach should have short-term rentals or something to that effect. Today, you were really spot on when you were talking about saving the neighborhoods, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Barbara, you spoke to that as well, and I can't say enough about all of you trying to preserve the neighborhood, okay? I'm here talking about this short-term rental, not because I have anything against this particular short-term rental, but I do think that there are a couple things you need to be very much aware of. Mayor, I sent you a list of some violations. There were probably, I don't remember how many, but there were probably about 9 or 10 violations that one of our other citizens have found in just the Airbnb website. There were 10 that she just immediately were able to spot. You know, 10 people, they were requesting that you can have up to 10 people for a 2-bedroom place, for example, those kind of things. Somebody had a tent in their backyard that they were putting up on Airbnb. I don't think you guys have heard anything about a tent yet. You haven't approved a short-term rental on a tent, I don't think. But there was one on Airbnb in Virginia Beach, okay? So there are things out there. So the couple things that I just want to make very crystal clear from my standpoint is, number one, policing. We've got to police, we've got to have some methodology of policing the short-term rentals, okay? I can't stress that enough, and that list can attest to that. That list, by the way, was sent to the planning office, okay? I'm not going to call out the person that it was sent to, but it was sent, and no response, because I don't think anybody understands who's supposed to be policing that stuff right now. So I'll just say that. The second thing I want to talk about is possibly doing a moratorium on short-term rentals right now. Either a moratorium on approving them, or a moratorium on at least taking the applications right now. Because everybody in the next few weeks, and you've already got, what, 25, I think, coming up in March? Put a moratorium on them. Everybody's gonna be putting something in now to do something in the water, you know, and that's gonna be, that's what the big rush is right now, because it's a gold rush. as
Thanks
Barbara
very
said.
much, Joe. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thanks.
Appreciate your comments.
That's all the speakers.
Mr. Tower.
I think I'm going to move to defer this one until March 17th as well. This application, there, we have a number of them already scheduled for that day. I'd like to move this to be with those group.
Okay, the district council person requested deferral. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, we have a second. Any discussion?
I just got a comment. We have, you know, we know we have 20 coming up on the 17th. Just want to add to that. As well, we have the applicant who's here. I don't know, see why we would defer to increase the workload on the 17th when we have the applicant here and she's adhered to the amendments of Section 8. I'm just curious of what was the difference from today would be from deferment on the 17th.
We're going to have quite a discussion, I hope, on this between now and the 17th. That's the main issue.
Okay. Okay. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. Jessica?
Bobby, didn't we approve a number of short-term rentals in this building already?
Yes, ma'am. You approved 2 short-term rentals of the, one on the end of one end unit and one next to the end unit in the same row in the last 2 meetings.
And are there more coming out of this building?
I don't believe we have any more applications for this building at this point in time.
Currently, we have no more pending out of this particular building.
Not as
that
of
you believe.
right now. We do not have an application for the other 2.
I kind of am siding with my colleague to my left, and I think, I don't know, we've already approved 2 out of this building. I don't know that, I think it would be in the best interest of good faith to vote on this today, in my opinion.
Mr. Tower? Yes, John?
Well, I didn't vote for those other applications. I feel like I'm being consistent at least. But I do think there is more to be learned here. I understand people think, how do you make the distinction between the 2? But he's not making a motion for a denial.
That's true.
And so I think if that was the case, I think that would have merits because you're asking about we're treating them differently. But because we might, and I don't know what they'll come up with, and I don't know that I'll even agree with what they come up with. I'll be honest about that, and people know me, probably can figure that out. But I do think we might come up with some discussion, a condition or something that we previously haven't thought about that would get there, or at least lay the foundation. Because what is, if they have 10 buildings there, or 4 buildings, how many units are in that building?
There's 5.
5? I don't know, is 3 get you over the threshold? Was 2 already the threshold? Those are legitimate considerations. I'm not saying we can do it retroactively, I don't know. But I think it's worth the merit of the discussion because there's been so much talk and feedback. And I think we have learned that in fact, at some place in there is a general welfare point if we can make the evidentiary case. I don't think it's been made here tonight. I'll give you that, Mr. Rouse, that has not been made, but I wouldn't want to deny the district council member the opportunity to make that evidentiary case, and I don't know how they're being overly disadvantaged by the delay, but that's just my perspective.
Mr. Rouse?
Well, I just, a matter of being consistent with, we already approved 2 out of this building, and we usually defer, just consistency upon this body, we defer when the applicant is not here to allow them the chance to speak. Now, here we have an applicant who's here, being that we already approved 2 within this building. I don't see the consistency of saying now we have one who's here, we're gonna require to come back 2 weeks from now to, talk and discuss even more. I agree, we all pretty much understand there's so much more discussion we can have that will be had, but here we are, we have an applicant here, we approved 2 within our building there. I don't see the need to defer to the 17th and also add to the capacity of the workload we have on the 17th with the short-term rentals.
Okay, Rosemary?
I have a question of Mr. Stiles. So if we change the rules, so to speak, of what we want the short-term rentals to be, what happens, I mean, I know if you did it for the ones that are not in the pipeline, you're probably fine. What about for the ones that have already gone through the process? Can we change the rules on them in midstream?
There is no vested right until this body acts. However, it has been historically your practice that if they were in the pipeline, you allow them to continue, and not with short-term rentals, with other zoning issues. You have historically treated applications based on the rules that were existent at the time the application was made, but you have no legal obligation to do that.
So
Okay, Mr. Rouse?
I want to make a substitute to approve this tonight.
Okay, we have a motion for a substitute on this. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
I just want to follow up on Council Lady Wilson's point. I do agree what our precedent has been, but my point was, within the rules that we have today, as we have been briefed, there are criteria that we would not be inconsistently applying relative to the law that's in place, that if there was an evidentiary information that would establish that there's a threshold at which over a certain number has a other than desired impact, that wouldn't be judging people by a different set of ordinances, but would be a analytical application of the criteria by which we can hold all applications, and therefore it would not be a deviation from past practice of this body. And that's the point I was making.
Okay.
I think that we approved other units that's had more than this in one building. Is that correct, Mr. Tahan? Didn't we approve like 3 in a building last time?
I believe we did do one that had 3, was it 3 or 2? I know that we've had 2. They're starting to blend together a little bit, so I apologize, but,
I think we had one that had at least 3.
yes.
Okay, Mr. Tower.
I would just respond to Councilman Rouse's comment. I mean, there's more than one reason to defer something. You might defer it because the speaker wasn't here, but this deferral is for the purpose of considering this application along with many others that are similarly situated. Yes, some that we have already approved are similarly situated as well. I just think, particularly based on the discussion we have today, it's better to push this one back. We're not denying it. It is a deferral for that reason. I just wanted to be able to respond to that before we take a vote on it. And I don't think there's any question. And I want to also say, I understand if I have an application, I'm very disappointed it doesn't get approved, particularly if somebody else similarly situated has it. It's a tough issue. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it, but I will accept the will of council on this, obviously.
Mr. Rouse?
Then we have a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, we're voting on the substitute motion, to approve.
By a vote of 5 to 4, you have approved the substitute motion to approve the application,
All right, now that becomes the motion on the floor.
the main motion.
Correct. And it is now the main motion.
Okay, so now we have to vote on it again?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay, any other discussion? Otherwise, the vote is open.
So that has approved 8-2 approval.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, yeah, Jessica?
Can I just make a comment? I've been in correspondence with my counter on the planning commission, and there's been a lot of frustration in terms of how we're, not in a bad way, but there's been a lot of frustration in the communication and how we're going to proceed with these. And if we're going to go forward with potentially deferring applications, I think it might be wise to do the same for planning, because I think that a lot of the planning commissioners are hoping to get more guidance from us, because I think they genuinely would like to fall as close to in line with council as they can. And I know that I've been hearing frustration, so more of just kind of an open comment. I don't know if there's a way to, if we're gonna hold back on some of these applications, to hold them back on planning side as well.
No, I'll tell you what, it's a complex issue, and hopefully we're gonna get some, resolve coming next week. But, thank you all for your consideration and discussion. Okay, at this point, Mr. Wood, appointments?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I nominate the following individuals to the Citizens Committee on Boards and Commissions, Jeremy Johnson and Bernice Pope. To the Clean Community Commission, Deborah Greenfield, Julie Searcy. To the Community Services Board, Pat Pointer. To the Health Services Advisory Board, Gaia Callawagin, Laura Huber, Ted Kubicki, and Rolf White. To the Historic Preservation Commission, Rick Klobuchar. To the Human Rights Commission, Carla Hesseltine, Virginia Gencott, Ronald Taylor, and Allison White. To the Planning Council, Councilwoman Sabrina Wooten. To the Personnel Board, Kenneth Snyder as an alternate. To the Resort Advisory Commission, Paige Miaris. To the Virginia Beach Community Development Corporation, Frank McKinney.
Okay. All right, vote is open.
We're done.
By a vote of 10 to 0, you've approved the appointments read by Vice Mayor Wood.
Okay, is there any unfinished business?
Mayor,
Yes.
earlier there was a discrepancy with the resolution we're going to take care of, but I did want to acknowledge Derrick Nnadi's family who's here. His mother, Christy, if you could stand as well, his father, Fred.
Welcome.
His brother, Mitchell, and his sister, Ashley, as well. So I just want to acknowledge them. And also, tell you all what a wonderful job you've done with Derrick. I mean, outstanding young man with, his future is very bright. I mean, he's already won the Super Bowl, so now you got to win another one for the hometown team. And now you get a chance to see what life is like after football. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of you all. Thank you for being a staple within our community. And one of the sentences we're going to fix on that resolution is just want to declare February 18th as Derrick Nnadi's Day. So thank you.
Good point. Great, and welcome. We really welcome you all as a family and a very vital part of our city, Virginia Beach. Is there any new business? We are adjourned.